Hello, dear students. Good morning to all of you. As we were discussing about the chapter directing, and in this context, we have discussed about the elements of the directing, in which we have already discussed its three elements, that is, supervision, leadership, and motivation. So, dear students, now in the previous, as we have discussed in the previous class, the leadership style. So, in the context of elements of leadership, we have discussed leadership, its importance, leadership style, quality of a good leader. Now, the next important element of directing is communication. As we know, that without the communication, it is quite impossible to perform even a single task in the organization. Yes, of course, it is an important part of each and every business enterprise. So first of all, dear students, today we will learn about the communication, elements of the communication or the process of the communication, and thereafter we will learn about its importance in the organization, and thereafter types of communication and the ways of the communication. So dear students, first of all, as I have indicated the topic communication, you were thinking about communication, it means simply we can say in Hindi baatchit or conveying the messages, or simply communication means you were thinking about the telephone talks or internet chats वगैरह. So here basically communication means a kind of transfer of information from sender to the receiver. It means if any one of the person of the organization or any of the people have any kind of information, and if they want to communicate it, if they want to send it, the way of the sending and receiving the messages or the ideas or the plans, the ways are known as communication. The way by which they are communicating, the way by which they are sending the messages, sending the plans, sending the ideas, and the sender is sending and receiver is receiving these ideas and plans. So the receiving and sending the ideas and plans are known as communication. Today, communication plays a vital role in success of the management. As we know that directing ability of manager mainly depend upon his communication skill, because it always emphasizes on improving communication skill of manager so that they can communicate their ideas, their skills, their information to their employees in such a way so that employees can grab it easily, employees can concentrate on the statement easily, or employees can understand the statement given by the managers easily, or through the communication employees can be motivated too. So dear students, this is the communication which is important for directing function, because all the elements of the directing become possible only when there is adequate communication system is there. So until or unless if there is no proper communication system is established in the organization, then it is quite impossible to make the growth and development, or to get succeed the organizational plans, however it is going to be planned or executed. So communication is one of the most important element of the directing, through which all the elements of the directing can be performed. So dear students, in simple way, communication can be defined that sending or receiving the messages or ideas or plans from one person to another person is known as communication. Now, as we have discussed about the communication, few elements or the communication process has been created or created through the definition. So first is, as I have discussed, that sending or receiving the messages. So first is the person who is sending the message or thoughts or the ideas or conveying his ideas or thoughts are known as senders, and the ideas which are going to be conveyed by the sender, that ideas, feelings, suggestions, orders, plans, etc., these all are known as messages. Now third is encoding. So encoding means converting the messages into communication symbols such as words, pictures, etc. So many times encoding term is very useful to make the message understand and to make the messages interesting to understand by each and every people of the organization. So during the encoding, messages are going to be converted or displayed through some pictures, through specific words, symbols, etc. So dear students, third element of the communication is encoding, and thereafter fourth element is, that is media path or channel through which encoded message is transmitted to receiver. For example, face to face, phone call, internet, etc. So these are the media path through which communication can be performed. Communication can get a path to transmit its message and send it to the receiver. Now the next element of the communication, that is decoding. It means converting encoded symbols to the senders. It means however messages have been used by using the pictures, words, symbols, these pictures, words and symbols are going to be converted or encoded encoded by the receiver whenever sender is sending it. Now next is receiver. The person who is receiving the messages or who receives communication of the senders is known as a receiver. Now seventh is important term, that is feedback. As we know that after the proper communication, it plays a vital role regarding collecting the information that the communication has been perfect or not. So feedback is one of the most important term. All those actions of a receiver indicating that he has received and understood the messages of the sender. In this term, all the messages whatever delivered by the sender and whatever received by the receiver, whether they are satisfied, they are understood or not. So feedback is necessary, feedback is mandatory. Now next important point or element of the communication process, that is noise. As we know that if noise will create, it will create a kind of problem. So it is taken as a kind of obstruction or hindrance or obstacles or problems in the way of the communication. Suppose that if the poor telephone connection is there or inattentive receiver is there, then due to the noise, due to the poor telephone connection, it is quite impossible to convey the message easily. So noise is one of the most important thing while communicating the things. Suppose that if we are taking the example that two persons are talking, but still that place where they are talking, where they are conveying their ideas, their messages, that is too much noisy place, then it is quite impossible to convey the message with ease and comfort, because the listener will not, or the listener cannot concentrate on the voice of the senders. So dear students, noise is also one of the most important element of the communication. So while communicating, it must be ensured by the organization or the sender of the message or the sender of the ideas, that there should not be any kind of noise over there, because the noise will distract the mind of the receiver or create a kind of nuisance over there, and due to the creation of nuisance, it will create a kind of problem in the flow of the communication to all. So dear students, these were few basic elements of the communication process. Now we will discuss about the importance of the communication. As we know that until or unless if we are not going to convey, if we are not going to communicate our feelings, our ideas, our thoughts, then it is quite impossible to get a better way to perform any task. So dear students, communication is playing a vital role today while directing the organization. When the managers or the superiors or the heads are going to direct the people, then they must have a good communication skill. Until or unless there is no good communication skill, then it will not be work, it will not perform perfectly to communicate their ideas, to communicate their views. So dear students, in the context of the importance of communication, first is act as basis of coordination. So as we can say that communication act as the basis of coordination, it provides coordination among departments, activities, and persons in the organization. Such coordination is provided by explaining about organizational goal, the mode of their achievement, and interrelationship between different individuals, etc. So it is acting as the basis of the coordination, because if the ideas are not going to be transmitted, if the views are not going to be transmitted, if the plans are not going to be communicated, then it is quite impossible to create a kind of coordination in the organization between the work and worker, between the worker and worker, between the employer, and between the employer and employee too. Next importance of the communication is that it acts as basis of decision making. As we know that communication provides needed information for decision making. In its absence, it may not be possible for the manager to take any meaningful decision. Suppose that if the ideas, if the thoughts are coming from the different persons, and still if these thoughts are not going to be obtained by the manager, then it is quite impossible to take the perfect or appropriate decision for growth and development of the organization. So dear students, communication also helps in decision making of the organization. Without the communication, decision will not be perfect. Next is it increases the managerial efficiency too. As we know that communication is essential for quick and effective transformance and managerial functions. The management conveys the goal and targets, issues instructions, allocates jobs and responsibilities, and looks after the performance of subordinates. Communication is involved in all these aspects. Thus, communication lubricates the entire organization and keeps the organization at work with efficiency. So dear students, it since communication helps in controlling all over the work through giving the instructions or keeping eyes on the work, or the by conveying the goal and targets to the subordinate. So it also increase the managerial efficiency. Now the next term, that is, it promotes cooperation and industrial peace. The two-way communication promotes cooperation and mutual understanding between management and worker, and it brings peace in the organization. Because until or unless if there is no two-way communication, only one-way communication is there, it means management is only speaking and workers are only listening, then it will not create a kind of cooperation. So for promoting cooperation in the industrial peace, communication also helps to establish the industrial peace in the organization. Now the next important term, that is, it establishes the effective leadership also. As we know, as we have already discussed about the quality of a good leader, in that sense we have already discussed that the leader must have the quality to speak fluently, speak in well cultured and well mannered way, and speak in the sense, so that the sense must be clear to all. So it also helps in establishes the effective leadership. Next is, it boosts the morale and provide motivation. So many times if communication skill is good, due to communication we can enable the management to motivate, influence and satisfy the subordinates. So many times you have seen on the television that babas are giving their pravachan and something else, and due to giving pravachan, you can see there are so many crowds there over there, and the peoples are listening or behaving over there in such a way like they all have been hypnotized by that baba. So this is the matter of the communication, how you are communicating the messages, how you are communicating your ideas. So it will boost up the morals and provides the motivation. If you want to get the work done by the worker, you have to communicate your ideas in such a way so that the worker can be motivated, workers can be inspired from your thoughts, from your ideas, and will help in and can help in increasing the morale of the employees too. So dear students, communication is one of the most important element of the directing, which enables or which helps in all the activity of the directing, such as motivation, supervision, supervision, leadership, etc. So dear students, now I think you all have got it. Thank you.